I'm really honored to say that I have been designing the Arboretum's quilt garden since its inception in 1996. If I count right, that is 27 years that we're heading into. First off is to share with you the inspiration for this coming year and 2023's new pattern, and it is North Carolina Lily. That pattern has been under our nose for many, many years here at the Arboretum in this very beautiful North Carolina Arboretum quilt. This pattern features a small container and then 3 actual flowers that look like they're growing out of that container. So I want to show you a little bit more about how we took a look at that pattern and have derived a variation that works in our quilt garden for this spring, summer, and fall. So we'll start by the fact that I researched the pattern, its history, and a little bit more about it. And what I found is that there are different variations of the pattern. The one that shows the basket or something that resembles a container, patterns that show no container, and then others that just show pattern with leaves and maybe stems on the lily. Traditionally, all the flower petals are shown as red. And where does this red lily come from? Well, in nature, this pattern is modeled after Lilium grayei. This is a native wildflower in the northern Highland Mountains. And you see these beautiful red petals that create this beautiful lily and the 3 stems on the lily. So after doing some research and study, I took a look at some variations of the pattern. I actually made 5 variations, and the variations that I draw, I use a quilting software. And it's really fun. It allows me to draw each of the blocks, so this would be a single block, and then configure those blocks into the pattern design. After looking at 5 different variations, we landed on a simplified variation of North Carolina Lily that shows the petals here shown in red, a background, and then what would be the perianth or the base of the lily flower petals. That's the pattern we're proceeding with. And then my work takes me to studying how will the plants perform, what kinds of plants work best in the quilt garden. And in springtime, I need to choose plants that really have about a 6 to 8 week flowering window, or plants that have beautiful foliage color. Also in the spring, we have late frost, and we can have frost in this county up until Mother's Day. So the plants that I need to choose need to be able to withstand light frost. So continuous flower, need the same kind of water and light consideration. Really are clean, don't require any deadheading, which is a term in horticulture that means removing spent flowers. Things that will mat together potentially and create that blanket of color. So these are some of the considerations that I have to think about in choosing the plants. Once those plants are chosen, I do some simple math and geometry to figure out the planting spacing and the number of plants for our production manager, June Jolley, to grow.
Hi, I'm June Jolley, and I am the greenhouse manager at the North Carolina Arboretum, and I wanted to show you the things that will be going into the quilt garden for the summer. We are doing a variation on the Carolina lily this year, and we have some really pretty plants for that. One of them will be this Lysimachia Midnight Sun, and as it gets into the sunshine out in the garden, it will turn more of a deep black color, a chocolate blackish brown color. This is a little Kufia. Mexican cigar plant is another name for it. This one is white. Her name is Floriglory Maria. And then we have red pentas, which will make the flower. And so these will be a dark red flower. So you'll have the red and the white and the black colors mixed together. And so this plants will be scheduled to go out into the gardens, into the quilt garden about the second or third week of May, depending on the weather. We usually wait till after Mother's Day because of the chance of frost. And I get the information usually around December to January from Clara as to what will be going into our landscapes. Then I either sow the seeds, root the cuttings, buy the rooted cuttings, and then grow them on from there. So I have to figure how long it's going to take to grow them, how many weeks, and what the availability is. And so for instance, I'll show you on this coleus, these come in little plugs. And so I bought this from a propagator, a wholesale propagator. And they come in little plugs like so, with a nice little root system. And then we just go in and drill a little hole, dibble a hole, and then just sort of shake them a little bit and water them in, and we grow them on. This will take about 6 weeks to finish. And that's a little bit of the process of how we do it. We fertilize with a constant liquid feed so that every time the plants are getting watered, they're getting a dilute solution of fertilizer. And this sunny, warm, beautiful greenhouse is the perfect environment to grow them in. And I hope that you'll get to come out and visit us this summer and see the different plants that we have in our seasonal landscape exhibits.
Okay, we've taken a short walk out to the quilt garden site just to sort of finish telling you the story of how the garden goes into place in the springtime. Next steps will be that our horticulture crew, each time we change a pattern, makes a stamp out of steel or rebar, and it's actually like a big cookie cutter. It's 8 foot by 8 foot square. And that stamp will be pressed into each of these beds, outlining the shapes of the block pattern. And then the flowers will be brought over and laid correctly into the shapes to create the color effect of the new pattern. So I'm excited to see the garden come in this spring and see that new color and new growth, and I hope you've really enjoyed learning more about the quilt garden at the Arboretum, and I hope you come out and enjoy the garden this year. Thank you.